Hi everyone, my name is Melissa Bailey and I'll be presenting an ethnography of a typical staff meeting that occurs in my workplace. I work for a retail clothing store that focuses on offering versatile and accessible wardrobe essentials to women for moderate prices. The brand was founded on the ideals of empowering women and has over 500 stores in the United States. To give you a little bit of background, I've worked for this company for about 8 months, so this was only my second staff meeting that I've been involved in. Each retail store under this company is comprised of a team. Typically, about every 3 months, the managers hold a staff meeting that all of the employees of the store are required to attend. I work as a sales associate, so my role at these meetings is to basically listen attentively, learn any of the presented information, and ask appropriate questions almost as if I'm a student. I'm there to learn, I'm there to engage, and I'm there to participate. Our head store manager leads the meeting, and the other managers assist as well, especially when we reach a topic that they specialize in, such as sales or credit. That's their time to take over and teach us. Typically, these meetings last between 2.5 to 3 hours. The meetings are held inside the store, basically right in the middle of the sales floor. With everyone on our team in attendance at these meetings, it's typically about 20 people taking part. The staff meetings are used to review upcoming trends in our product that we'll be selling in the approaching season, but we also talk about store issues or concerns, and we get updates on our productivity as a team. My experience with the last meeting was that we focused the majority of our time together on how to push and sell the product to our customers rather than on subjects such as, team building or employee engagement. So I assumed going into this meeting that it would be somewhat similar. I arrived at the staff meeting at about 6:50, so about 10 minutes before it was supposed to start at 7 o'clock. When I got there, all of the associates were still straightening, which basically means that they were still folding everything that was misplaced, putting things back where they belonged, basically perfecting the store for the following morning for opening. So that signaled to me that it must have been a high traffic business day because tasking like that is usually finished by that time of the night. We were all required to clock in because we were being compensated for our time there, and one of the managers was actually doing it for us. So she just had us verbally tell her our associate number, and she punched it in for us. And after I put my belongings down, I basically jumped in to help with the rest of the straightening that was left. At about 5 minutes after 7, our manager told us that we were about to get started, so we scattered to grab any nearby chairs to sit on. Well, there's only a few chairs in the entire store because we stand all day, so I think we maybe found 3 chairs to sit on, so the rest of us sat on the floor, and I drew a simple diagram of basically what the setup was for the meeting. Um, so basically, these squares are different tables that hold merchandise. This is the cashier's desk where the registers are, and this is where they had the TV out. They brought a TV out from the back to show us some of the videos that were showing us the trending and everything. The circles represent where the managers were. The managers didn't sit the entire time. They were standing the whole time. The little dashes represent where we were sitting on the floor together, so we didn't move anything around. We were all crowded on the sales floor trying to, see the TV, trying to see the managers as they spoke, so we were very much cramped in a small space. At 7:10, the meeting was started by our head store manager, and from the get-go, without going over an agenda or goals for the meeting, the tone was very sharp, and the associates, and including myself, were basically under fire for over an hour. Our manager expressed how stressed the job was making her personally, and she also told us that it was causing her health issues. She was demanding to know why we weren't getting customers to open more store credit cards, why we weren't using the email capture, which is basically the email system that we use to obtain email addresses to send corporate emails. But she was saying all this in a very accusatory tone. There was no other approach to her communicating this. There was no room for discussion. She wasn't asking us, what can I do to improve this and make you better? What can we go over together to make you feel more comfortable doing this? Her only point was that we weren't meeting our expectations. There was no other side to it. At one point she asked if there was a reason, and one associate voiced that she feels uncomfortable asking and pushing the credit to customers, because even if they say no once, we're supposed to ask 3 times, which can at times be very uncomfortable for us. And without skipping a beat, the store manager basically said, you know what, that's a personal issue, and you need to be asking, it's part of your job, you need to ask 3 times. So there was really no opportunity for us to defend ourselves in that moment. And following that, the managers informed us that we would now be getting individual credit goals each week based on the number of hours that we were scheduled for. And there would also be a consequence from now moving forward that for the person who earned the least amount of credit cards or no credit cards for the week would be required to clean the restrooms. So at this point, myself and the associates began to check out of the meeting. We weren't happy with that idea that they sprung on us, that we would now be cleaning the restrooms if we didn't earn any credit. We felt that that was kind of an attack on us, and so I think a lot of us began to check out mentally. So very quickly the mood went from everyone happy to see one another because we're never completely together as a full sales team to pretty negative, quiet, and tense. The manager continued to touch on other subjects such as requesting time off because it's been an ongoing issue for us as a store. So she touched on that for a few minutes. Following that, the co-manager took the floor, letting us know that some of us had been folding a couple garments incorrectly. Again, it wasn't in a way that was constructive criticism. When she demonstrated how to fold the garment properly to us, it was in a very belittling manner. Following the co-manager, the credit manager said she was going to announce the Employee of the Month, which for this month, for this meeting, it was actually me. And the associates all congratulated me, and then the credit manager went on to list why I got it. And positivity-wise, that was the highest positive point of the meeting that we hit. And then we never went back to anything positive after that. At about 8:15, we began to watch the films that the corporate offices send us. We watched those for about 15 minutes, and then our managers asked us questions on how we would hypothetically style some individual pieces to fit with the trend. We also watched a video on the main charity that our organization is partnered with, but we spent the majority of the meeting reviewing the trends. By this point in the meeting, none of the associates were really motivated to be involved as a group, and that was shown by lack of participation and tense body language and facial expressions. Following watching the films and doing the activities at about 9:45, my manager ended the meeting and we dispersed in our own directions. The very first thing that stuck out to me culturally about the meeting was the setup of the space. Typically at meetings, the people in attendance will sit at a table or all sit together so that there's a sense of equality. In this meeting, however, there was a clear hierarchy as all the managers stood, as I showed in the diagram, while most of us sat on the floor and were essentially lectured. Another aspect I noticed was that whenever anyone spoke from their point of view, it was responded with in defense or questioned as if their perspective was wrong. I think a lot of us held back from contributing to any of the discussions or answering any of the questions because we anticipated a negative response. Therefore, we were hesitant to speak at all. I determined my stance on whether our head manager was a good leader based on Hartman's 3 identifiable characteristics of a good community or an organization, which include exit, loyalty, and voice. Exit in this particular situation was not really an option for our community. We were not permitted to opt out of the meeting. However, we do have the ability to exit the community completely and move on to one that we think would suit our idea of the good life, better for us. As far as loyalty, the decision to require the associate who earned the least amount of credit for the week to clean the restrooms was not a decision that was in the best interest of the team as a whole. It somehow benefited the managers in some way, shape, or form that they were convinced enough that it was a good idea, but certainly didn't benefit us in any way. That decision is not consistent with the values of our brand, which is to empower women. The only thing that would result from that consequence is the associate feeling embarrassed or shame. It's not going to result in anything positive, such as more credit. It's not going to be positive in any way. Decisions like that could potentially keep employees from stepping up when they are needed, and there was also no accountability for the manager's roles and our weaknesses, only blame to the associates, which does not contribute to any sense of loyalty whatsoever. And then finally, to address freedom of voice, as I stated before, even though at times the manager prompted us to give our opinion or answer questions, our perspectives weren't really welcome. The manager was not allowing us to contribute, and in conclusion, this singular meeting has allowed me to realize that I cannot consider the head manager a good leader, nor can I consider my workplace a good community to work in. I think the biggest characteristic missing is the freedom of voice. Individuals can't feel part of something unless they feel they have a stake in it. The potential to transform our community is there, but our managers need the motivation to change and have the motivation to foster a much more positive culture in the future.